Some cars may be filled with hope and potential. However, on execution, they crash and burn. However, these cars can be so flawed and terrible that they're awesome. So here are 10 cars that are so bad, they're good. Lada Riva. Mother Russia's most well-known car. The Lada Riva was a communist-backed economy car which brought modern-day transport to the people. It was based on the Fiat 124 platform. It wasn't built well, and it was very plain and ugly. This seems like a recipe for disaster. However, since its release in 1980, the Riva has become the third best-selling automobile platform of all time, and it stayed in production with minimal changes until 2015. Best of all, the Riva can be modified massively, and they are practically unkillable. Garage 54 left one in a lake for 6 months, and it started. Now try do that with your Allegro. Reliant Robin. A joke with wheels. The Reliant Robin was a car for people who had a motorbike license, but they still needed a car for whatever reason. It is notorious with being the vehicle of choice for trotters independent traders, and for rolling over at any given moment. It was slow, ugly and terrifying, and that's why it's so good. You turn heads everywhere you go, and you're having the time of your life driving one. Pontiac Aztek. This car did not sell well, nor did it drive well, or look well. The butt of everyone's jokes until Breaking Bad, the late night drama, made the Aztek a cult favourite, and it helped us to realise what this car could actually do. It had an optional tent that stuck at the back, loads of space, a reliable engine and electrics, and it gave the driver the ability to think that they were Walter White. Ferrari 348. The worst Ferrari ever, they said. The 348 was a generally mediocre Ferrari. It's barely remembered. It's known for letting down the 328 it replaced, and being completely outshunned by the Ferrari 355. It looks fantastic. It makes a beautiful sound, and it has the right badge. The problem was its engine. It was very slow, didn't handle well. It was so slow in fact, that a GMC Cyclone and a Honda NSX would leave it for dead. But you're not racing everywhere you go, so performance is irrelevant. Take it on a calm cruise, and I bet you will love it. Triumph TR7. This car was destined for greatness, but it crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. It received good press from US car journalists, but people in the US were not persuaded easily for 2 reasons. One, it was a foreign brand that no one had heard of. It also came from a nation which had a reputation for unreliability. The second reason was that they thought it was ugly. I personally think it looks spectacular. But anyway, what made this car good was its motorsport credentials, and the simple fact that 1970s Britain was riddled with from the British Leyland. So the TR7 was the only ray of sunshine in the country when it was released. Fiat 126. The Fiat 126 was a small city car with a rear engine and some seats. It was the same size as the original Mini, and it sold over 4 million units. However, it was rear-engined, slow, ugly, and cheaply built. Similar to the Lada, the 126 made best of what it had, and as a result, the car became a cult classic in countries such as Poland, Cuba, and the Soviet Union. And so it's often that you will see one of these giving it everything at your local rally. VW Golf GTI Mark IV. The most hated Golf ever. The Mark GTI had a 1.8 litre turbocharged engine, which was underpowered, and to make matters worse, the Mark IV Golf was unreliable and very heavy. However, people seem to miss the point. Your Mark IV will drive forever if you actually look after it, and once you get some mods from the massive golf enthusiast community, your Mark IV Golf will fly. The DeLorean. The DMC-12 is a sports car built for the US market, despite being built in Northern Ireland. The DMC-12 seemed promising at first. It looked incredible, and it had John DeLorean controlling it. Unfortunately, Northern Ireland had problems of their own back in the 80s, so build quality was poor. The electrics were terrible and often failed, but worst of all, its engine was a turd and a stick. The Renault V6 used was just awful in every way. It wasn't until Back to the Future where the DMC-12 got the credit it deserved. Since that movie, the DMC has a massive cult following, and a large group of dedicated mechanics doing all they can to make it better. Plymouth Prowler. The Plymouth Prowler was released to reminisce of the 1950s, where hot rods rule the streets. It looked pretty cool, but it was unwanted. Very few were sold and it wasn't that fast either. The 3.5 litre V6 was only 250 brake horsepower. It also wasn't very spacious. It was expensive when it was launched. It wasn't even a car, but rather a toy. Still though, it will turn heads, and its weirdness can be why this car is very likeable. Mazda RX-8. The Mazda RX-8 is one of the most hated cars ever. Its rotary engine is slow and unreliable. It's looked down as if it's an insult to its predecessor, the RX-7, and it drinks oil like there's no tomorrow. These factors explain why the RX-8 is so cheap nowadays. €1,500 will get you a nice one, and that is where the RX-8 begins to make sense. It makes an incredible sound when it's revved up. Its finicky engine means that you must always stay on your toes, and it handles like a champion. If you can live with the RX-8's faults, then go and buy one, but please do some research.